လူကုန်တိတ်ခါပြေးသွားတဲ့နိုင်ငံကိုလိုလားပြီးတော်လန်ရေခရီးမှာပါဝင်နေကြတဲ့တော်လန်ပြည်တွေအား
all
လုံး
the people who want a country of dignity and all the people who will be supporting the revolution would like to welcome you once again to our weekly talk show of the People's Go team as well. So People's Go team Way of Thought program has already had a session where we talk about the Sham election of the military hunter. We had discussed it, that was back in January. And this week also, we'll be talking about the Sham illegitimate election of the military hunter. And that the title we have given for this week's talk show is that what is the Sham election of the military? Where is it going? So the military hunter focuses on grasping the state power, and they have allegedly accused of the irregular frauds of the 2020 election, and they had to cause violence against the entire population. They have grabbed the power, that unexpectedly they have seen the people standing up against the regime, against the system, against the coup, and that would just led to a lot of both casualties and losses. So it's been now over 2 years of the resistance movement against the military coup. And then there are a lot of challenges that people are facing on politically and militarily, and people are sacrificing their lives on a daily basis. That although the military extend the state of emergency over the country, they try to extend military role. They try to, even to have a state of emergency, they try also to transform their military power into parliamentary power by means of election. And that's what the military has been doing, is as everything we can also get. They are trying to legitimize their military role. At the same time, the military also have the military back that political party, and they want these political parties to be able to run the election successfully, and that's why they are also making whatever they are doing, whatever they can, in order to limit other political parties from registration as well. And that though they also have made it very stringent, the registration law, and there are also all the other political parties who want to make it difficult for the political parties to contest election as well. That the military also has military is now trying to get voters data as well, and that the last census Myanmar has taken was over 10 years ago, and that the military leaders say that they need to redo another national census in order to prepare the voter list for the election as well. That at the same time that we need to understand where these electoral census is going as well, and then how can the people what the people should do to prepare themselves for, and how can we work together in solidarity, in that which should be that how do we move forward together and standing strong, and that's something we need to discuss. On the one hand, it is important that for the political parties also need to tell the people about how should the people reply to it. So how should the people respond to it? How should the political party respond to it? And this is part of the topics that we'll be discussing in today's talk show program. That's why we're given the title as the election. What is the election of the military, and where is it going? So we are invited Hmwe from the DPNS, from the Shama is from the Democratic Party for a New Society, DPNS, and we also have invited Kuzomi, who is a former political prisoner, and we also have the People's Soldier Naung, and I'll be your moderator. My name is Htoi. I'm from Kachin State Civilian Movement. And like in the previous talk shows, we will also give a chance to our participants to ask questions. So if you're in the Zoom, you can raise your hand. You can also use the chat box or the Q&A to ask questions. And if you're following us on the Facebook or the other live stream pages, and then you can also write down your comments or the questions in the comment box so that we can respond to these questions as well. So we will start the talk show now. To start the talk show, we like to first invite Hmwe from DPNS, Democratic Party for a New Society. Siama, also please introduce yourself when you start talking. And my first question to you, Siama, the Hmwe, is that military has announced that they will hold an election in 2023. And now we are in March of 2023, and military sides say that they are really preparing for this election, and that revolutionary forces are also doing all they can in different ways to, to oppose this the Sham election as well. So as a member of a Democratic Party for a New Society, DPNS, and as a former political prisoner, how do you see this situation? So the floor is yours. Thank you. So thank you for this opportunity to be part of this talk show entitled "What is the Sham election of the military and where does it go?" Thank you for inviting me. I also also happy to see other speakers that they are safe and sound and participating in the talk show. I'm happy about that. And I'm also like to thank the audience for also joining the talk show as well. Firstly, I would like to say that the military coup doesn't matter whatever excuses they give or whatever pretext they give. It does not make sense. It's not logical, and there are no grounds for them to stage a military coup. Whatever pretexts they may give, the coup is to protect their interests. Especially to protect their economic interests. That's a reason for them to do that as well. And it is also important for us to understand what kind of what kind of military is this. And like CDM soldiers had mentioned, in that that it doesn't matter military call themselves the state armed forces. They are not in state armed forces. They are war criminals who are committing war crimes, who are committing rapes or the killing of the civilian people who kill indiscriminately. That we see the military junta is pushing hard to organize elections in 2023. They have been announcing that they will be organizing the elections in 2023, and that they themselves are violating the constitution that they themselves have drafted in order to prolong their control of the country. So while this is happening, what is also very clear for us to see is that they don't control the territory in Myanmar, and that in more than 40 townships they have the martial law and counter that also shows that martial law shows us clearly that they have no control of the territories. They do not get support of the population. That also means the military is not stable at all, and that they are at risk, and that for them in the Sham election could be a political way out, and that's why they are pushing hard on the election. That's their way of thinking. That and the military who is trying to organize this election has no legitimacy, and that's something we need to clarify, because they do not have the mandate to organize the election. And if they organize the election, their election will be illegitimate, will not be free and fair, and this election will only push Myanmar back under the control of the 2008 constitution. It is merely trying to prolong their rule, their control, and their supremacy over their supremacy military. And it is important for all of us to recognize this Sham election as a legitimate election. They are just trying to find a way to hold on to the power. That all the democratic forces and different political forces have already spoken up that they will not accept the election, and that they will not recognize the election. That the people are also boycotting the election as well. And it is important for the international community to understand this, that an election is important in the democratic transition of a country. So most international countries, try to support and assist with the elections. But here, this election is not real, not genuine, not democratic, and it is organized by the military. So it is important for the international community to understand that this is a sham election. The military is just making for show, trying to legitimize, and that they should not get support from the international community. It is important for the international community to understand that as well. And then we are also seeing a lot of public strikes on the ground. People are saying no to the election, that it is not the right time for them to organize the election, and military do not have the mandate to convene election. We are seeing a lot of such demonstrations, not only that is across, not only in cities but also in different parts of Myanmar as well. And that we also see also statements from different organizations saying they do not support this election as well. For example, like in Kranny State as well, like for example, like in Kranny, that Kranny State and Kachin State, and then the local organization already have issued their statement. They do not support this election. So the political as well as revolutionary forces have stood very clearly, and they do not support this election. So it is important that we need to stand strong collectively to boycott and oppose this sham election. That it is important for the people, democratic forces, and Myanmar diaspora across the world, and the international community and different democratic forces will all need to work together to oppose this sham elections. Only then we'll be able to set Myanmar free from the control of the military hunter as well. So this is what I would like to answer to the first question. Thank you. Thank you, Hnin, for your answer. So you have mentioned that it is important for the international community and the people of Myanmar to recognize that an election is the essence of a democracy. But one election is where the military organizes really to get legitimacy of some kind, that it will not be free and fair, it will not be democratic, it will not be truthful. That it is important that also that in the ethnic control areas, many organizations are opposing this election, and then people also have said that they will not accept this election. These are the key points that we have noted from your first answer. Now I would like to invite our second speaker, Naung, that from the 2010 election to 2020 elections, the society organizations have done election monitoring at the police stations in different wards and villages. But is the society organization not allowed to do that election observation in the police station inside the military? So my question is, how was that campaigning went? How was the campaigning in the elections of 2012, 2015, and 2020? How was the election observation? What about this upcoming election the military wants to organize? Do you think that the rank and file of the Myanmar soldiers, can they be exploited to harvest votes, for example? Thank you for inviting me. So before, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Naung. I'm a member of the People's Code team. I'm also a member. I'm also a CDM soldier as well, and so here in this in the 20 election or 2010 election, we don't have anything remarkable to share, because in 2010 election that was under the military organized the election the way they want. It was that we just vote in the army, so we don't know this was nothing remarkable about it. However, because it was only the USDP who was contesting the election as well. But in 2050 changes have happened, because in 2050, people have a voice. People are interested in the politics, and people want to genuinely vote and participate in the election. So there has been more interest from the people. So there has also been more people talking about the freedom. So in those police stations inside the military were quite independent. But however, in the 20s, the situation have changed again. That all the military police stations in 2020, they have to move outside of the military. There will be more standards for transparency and as well as transparency. So when the polling stations were no longer inside the military compound, when they are placed outside, there were both pros and cons. That in the 2020 election, there was more freedom because it is outside. People can they can go and vote. So that but at the same time, so the military was not able to control much people from voting as well, and that people will have some freedom to be able to vote as well, and that so in 2020, in terms of police stations, there was much freedom, because the police stations were for soldiers and family were no longer inside the military compound. So there was some freedom for their rank and file and their families to be able to vote for whatever party they want to. So that has since, apart from 2010, in the past 2015 and 2020, before the election, we have seen quite a bit of that campaigning as well, and that so that they also have talked about it. They were also mobilizing. But different parties are doing the campaigning, like which part they will also do a lot of very open new discussion that we should vote for the soldiers, should vote for the USTV party, which is backed by the military as well, and that there were also some people who vote for that as well during the voting on the voting day. That so we have seen also more of a different as well. So sometimes in 2015, that some of the soldiers did not know what to do, and that but there were also some who were able also to vote more as well, and that so there were also some rumors and some noise that people were not able to vote as well, and that so in a way that if we can look at it, the 2020 general elections, although despite the rumors of people so just being pushed to vote for the military backed party, there was a freedom for people to able to vote. So people have been accountable citizens. They were able to exercise their right to vote. They know that although they may be from the military, they know they have the freedom to vote, and they were able to vote according to their will. They were able to exert them, because in an area like Mandalay is where you have the central command area. But although it was that and there we have seen a large number of votes that are going to the NLD and other parties. Myanmar, for example, like in the Myanmar is the area where there are a lot of military camps, but that they were like that that often that NLD have more power, more votes as get we have seen that as well, that more parties other parties are getting more votes in there. So if you look at it 2015 and 2020, you'll see that although the military tried that whatever they can to do that they were not able to cheat. They were not able to harvest the vote. The election has been independent, and it has been free and fair. So that, we don't know that, and that is something everybody knows. That I cannot understand when the military announced that there has been electoral fraud. There has been that there has been that vote harvesting, as well as on the that voter list problems with the general election. It's quite hard to understand, because even for the military military near the police stations, it was very certain. Things were very proper. It was more than systematically people had the independence to vote. But in 2010, there wasn't much of a progress or change as well, and that as well, and that they were also not, that there wasn't much of a difference in the 2010. But in 2015, the difference is significant. We were able to vote. And then in 2020 as well, people also were be able to vote as well. And that, and also that now the military is saying a lot about they're going to organize in the 2020. They are also talking also about their PR. They are going to use proportionate representation as well. And that they were in that the idea for them is that maybe they are going to do the PR. They are saying that there will be advanced voting. They are trying to use the vote harvesting and advanced voting to be able to get the votes in the boxes of the party they want, and that rather than ensuring transparency, they are trying to they will try to cheat in any way they can to get the votes. Because if you look back in their history with the transparency transparency, and that free and fair election, the votes will go into other parties, not in the military-backed parties. So they will not be in their favor. So they are in 2023, they will try to go back to the system of the 2010, where the militaries, there was a lot of there was a lack of transparency, as well as and the military police station will be inside the military as well. That thank you, Gunayu. So the way you has mentioned is that 2015 and 2020, there has been more freedom for soldiers to vote in the election. So that and that 2015 and 2020 were significant, as significant in the sense. So now I would like to invite Kozome. Kozome, please. Can you hear us? Hello, Kozome. Hello. Sorry about that. I pressed the wrong button. Now I would like to invite that Kozome, that so that the military is really pushing hard to organize the election. On the other hand, like revolutionary forces are also trying to trying very to oppose this election. That is there anything particular that you have noticed in this situation, and that how that what the tensions, the friction, could they increase dramatically to a certain extent? Because I think Siamanini has said that some of the ERO has issued their statements, and that some of the the democratic some of the political actors also have issued the statements that they do not support the election, and yet the military is trying to push on the election. So do you think anything anything special might came out of this this situation? The floor is yours. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this talk show organized jointly by the People's School Way of Thought program, and it is an honor to be part of the other speakers. To respond to your question, across Myanmar, people are against the election. People of Myanmar have been against this military hunters from all walks of life, from different parts of Myanmar as well, and that ethnic revolution organizations also have issued statements that they will not allow election in their controlled territories as well, with the urban demonstrations and rural demonstrations, and then people have also raised their voice and say that they oppose the election and they will boycott the election as well. I think that all the people and that all the people that all the poor people will continue to oppose the military hunter, and that they oppose the military. Not only this election, because whatever the military is not good for the people. In whatever they are doing, it is important that the people of Myanmar are very determined to oppose the military in whatever whatever efforts that they are making as well. You also asked that what have you also asked about something, if I have taken notice of it as well. I think that what really we can say is that so there are events that happens recently that shows the real nature of the military. That the moment that they start is that they are determined to organize the election. They are also committing more crimes as well. For example, they are also enacting laws which will escalate the violence in Myanmar. For example, like they had issue let the citizens that giving them weapons, issuing weapons to the citizen. They also have declared martial law in different townships of Myanmar as well, and that's this announcement of the extension of martial law is it makes me very worried. especially for the people living in these townships as well. Because if you look back in the history, the military never hesitate. They always carry out their military operation. It doesn't matter how brutal or inhumane they are. The fact that the military has announced the martial law in some of the townships, the more townships in Myanmar, is already a special situation, because that means that they will be able to shoot force, and that we have seen also in the recent time the military has conducted massacres, including including women and elderly people as well. So that for the people of Myanmar and for the revolutionary forces, I think we'll have to do more. We have to be more prepared in response to the military and their efforts for their election. Thank you, Siasome, for the for your answer. So I would also like to ask you a follow-up question, and that so you're saying that revolutionary forces are opposing this election of the military. So along with this, the opposing and boycotting this election, what should the revolutionary forces do to prepare themselves against the offensive of the military? What if the military were use force to push people to vote, and especially to vote for the party they want? If they make threats against the party, if they threaten the security of their people, what kind of preparation should we do to prepare ourselves against the retaliation or the threats of the military? Can you also take this question? Thank you. In urban areas that we also have the revolutionary the revolutionary forces there are revolutionary forces who are doing these strikes. We are seeing more and more arrests of the revolutionary forces in areas like Sakai and Hmwe and Nindai, and we are also seeing that we are seeing incredible cruelty as well, and that what we are seeing is that here, what I would like to say is that it is important for that the solidarity is important, but it is also important for us to understand the enemy as well. That by understanding the enemy, we mean that if you look back on the nature of the military never hesitate. They will do whatever they can to be able to control the power. For example, like they say, the military has said that there is nothing there's nothing they wouldn't do as well. So I think it is important for us to understand. It is important to prepare ourselves, so that how can we defend ourselves? That we also need to have a clear idea as well. Here, I will try to give a constructive comment. Is that when the military extend the martial law into more township across Myanmar, I think I would like to refer to a Ministry of our Energy Ministry of Defense given an interview. The Ministry of Defense said, well, this is the military is just trying to save face. These are the areas that our PDFs control. That kind of response, that idea, in my opinion, is far from the reality. It is not real. It is far from the reality, and that the fact that the military announced extension of the martial law is to give free rein to burning down the villages, to killing the civilians, conducting airstrikes and military operations. They are preparing to escalate a level of violence as well, and that also means that we need to prepare to protect our people, our freedom fighters, to make sure there is there's the least damage that would be on the revolutionary forces. It is also important to understand also, and so how do we protect ourselves from the danger of the military? That these are the things we should be preparing for. In short, I would say that here, what is happening is that sometimes we are like a revolutionary forces. Sometimes in the interviews, when we see the authority, the way they are speaking, it has nothing to do with what is happening on the ground. It's quite far from reality. They are not grounded in the reality. So what is happening on the ground is military is conducting more military offensive, targeting the civilians. That means that civilians are at great risk. Civilians are facing unprecedented levels of brutality and inhumanity. It is important to be mindful of what is really happening on the ground. It is important to reflect our acts and our words reflect reality, and it is important to build relations based on the reality. It is also important to recognize which areas are now in great danger. Right now, Hmwe and Sakai are the areas, are the regions, where they don't have much of ethnic revolutionary organization. There hadn't been any war in the past, or there hadn't been any ethnic revolution organization. How do we strengthen these areas so that they can protect their people? It is important to look at from that perspective, so that we'll be able to protect our people. We'll be able to minimize the impact and the casualties of our fighters and people. So we believe that this election, the military is trying to organize the Sham election. It is important for all the people of Myanmar from all walks of life need to oppose this Sham election, and that it is also important to minimize the price that we pay, that the casualties that we face. It is important for us to be tactical. It is important for us to be strategic. It is also important, like I said before, be realistic and work in solidarity with the other groups as well, and that will be important. Thank you, Gozome, for the very comprehensive answer. So that in the points that you made, so it is that you have mentioned very clearly that that it is important to in this revolution, in this struggle where we are trying to eradicate the military dictatorship. It is important for the revolutionary forces to analyze what is really happening on the ground, to observe what is happening on the ground, and based on that grounded analysis, it is important to work together in unity and in solidarity with others as well. And that it is important to identify what is happening on the ground and what is needed. Then we'll be able to ensure that our revolution remain focused, and that we be also that will also be able to withstand that when the military exert pressure on the people, and that it is also important for the important to that to be able to find a way to be able to make sure that that people are not people will be spared from the dangers and the threats. I would like to now go for the second round of the questions, and I would like to invite Sham Hnin from DPNS as well. That we know that DPNS opposed the election, and that we also learned that the Democratic Party for the New Society will not participate, is opposed the election, and that. But what about the other parties which are trying to contest in the election? Do you have anything to say about that?
For the DPNS, the SAC election, we made the announcement already. This is a sham election. This is the illegal election. We are not going to register ourselves, and we are not going to run for the election. So we made it very clear. For the political party registration law, the SAC is made as a new one. And if we looked at the previous law has many limitations, and now the SEC law has more limitation, which is worse than it was, and they would favor some of a few political parties, and they are going to register. Um, for example, USDP, Mabata, and other pro-military political party will, of course, will register themselves. So the SEC law is made in that direction as well. And in this current context, some of the political parties are trying so hard to participate in this sham election, and they are trying to register themselves as well. According to the SAC announcement, 19 political parties are being registered. And for our understanding, political parties in a country require to get public acceptance. So this is as simple as such. And as you all know that in this current situation, the military is not accepted by the people at all. So people express that very clearly. And the SAC really understand that. And the SAC also admit that they did not anticipate such kind of strong revolt. And I really do not understand why some of the political party would want to register themselves for this sham election. But what I can say for ourselves is that we need to look at the long term. And if people do not accept the political party, and then that political party cannot even be the party itself. And I just would like to say that please dissociate yourself from all this arrangement. Thank you. Ninin, you mentioned about that some of the political parties are trying to run the sham election. And again, all the political parties really need to evaluate their their credibility and question themselves if they really stand for the people. If the a specific political party would stand for the desire of a people, then they just have to listen to the wishes of the people. This is what you just mentioned it. That is what I understand from you. And now I just would like to invite Good Now You, the CTMR as well. And the SAC is trying to come up with all the measures not to have increased CDM number. And I kind of wonder what should be done and what you are continuing in order to increase the CDMR. And I also would like to ask you if there are any activities in order to have more defectors. Now the floor is yours. Thank you.
ဆရာမကြီးဟုတ်ကဲ့ဒီစစ်ကောင်းဆောင်တွေကတော့ဒီ CDN
Well, the military leaders try to mitigate the increase of the CDMRs. They try to have all sort of measures, oppression, restriction, limitation, not to have more CDMRs. And they are using all sort of propaganda tactics as well. But what I would like to say to our old friend, the soldiers, is that please look at the quasi-democracy government time, compare that time with the situation under the coup d'etat. And there are impact on them as well. They really have to make comparison and they really have to analyze all the situation before the coup and after the coup. On top of the, not alone, public are suffering from the coup data. The soldiers are suffering from all the negative impacts of the coup data in terms of their education, health, living standard, everything all need to be reflected. Compare their situation 2 years ago and now. And as I mentioned, the impact of the coup data is the negative impact on the coup data is not only on the public but also on the soldiers. And for the soldiers and their family and their parents, they've got the allowance for health, for materials, for essential materials in the past. But then again, if we observe the family of the high rank official, they are the privileged class, having all sort of education from abroad. But look at the soldiers and their family, no right, nothing really happened. And some of the soldiers probably might dream that their golden time will come when the military stage the coup. But then again, they are doing completely different, and then they are suffering from all the negative impact of it as well. And if we um, looked at the public sentiment on the soldiers, people hate and people disgust the soldiers these days. So soldiers and our old friend really need to understand this kind of dynamic. So whatever military hunters are doing, they are doing things for their own benefit, for their own interest. And the conduct of the mismanagements of the military Honda are not for the basic level of the military, but only for themselves. So this is a very clear idea that each and every soldier should have. Thank you. Now you mentioned this information for the yet to be CDM soldiers. And you also mentioned about the social status, social rank, and living standards are all in grievances at this moment. So you highlight about that as well. And as the third panelist for the second round, I would like to invite Go Min. For the SAC, they will try whichever way in order to run for the election. And for the revolutionary forces, they will go against the sham election in every way and in whatever means, that is for sure. But then again, there might be people, the public, who might caught in between that two dynamic. So I kind of wonder what would be your what would be your anticipation in terms of the possibilities of what might happen when there would be election ongoing. I would say I believe the public, I believe the people. People are not returning back. People know their goal explicitly. So people will not make the SAC alive again for sure. But it might be inevitable that the SAC might force public to cast the vote in some of the areas. It might be inevitable as well, but then again, in that case, um, people can still vote the ballot with the manner that it would be the reject ballot. So it is the practice or tactics that the public can do. But then again, in terms of the election, we really need to look at the meaning behind it as well. In the very early day, we had this no tax campaign. People joined in this campaign very well. I mean, it has been 2 years. this political revolution for 2 years, it's quite a significant period as well. But there are many reasons that this revolution is still ongoing because the military institution has been built over several decades. So it would be it would not be the case that this military institution will be gone overnight. But then again, when people join in this no tax campaign, they would not pay the electricity bills at the very beginning. But then again, there are all sort of oppression that the regime made to have people pay their bills. So in the end, people have to pay the electricity bills. I think it is very logical that people have to pay the bills, otherwise they will not get their power. So for this, we just have to understand that people are paying the electricity bill. And on the other hand, if NUG would come up with the penalty announcement that if people pay the tax to the SEC, there will be some sort of penalty, I think we should not have this kind of approach. We really need to think long term. We really need to think for the public as well. As long as public have opportunity to grab their 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 direction, their goal, they will definitely get the opportunity and make the most use of it. But at the same time, people have to play a very clever way to live under the SECs as well. And now there is this penalty or or taking measure against the non-CDM. And now I would like to say something about it. We want to have the proper goal, but in order to reach to our goal, it is quite a long journey. It is quite a difficult journey. In the non-CDMRs, there are those who just have to accept their situation of being non-CDM. I, at the same time, respect and salute the CDMRs, but taking action against everyone who is not CDM, I think this kind of policy or this kind of concept is very dangerous. Now, talking about the transitional justice, in the transitional justice implementation phases, we really have to come up with the measures and and information who who did what, and only after all this strong facts, evidence, and witnesses, then there might be um, uh, necessary action to go about it. Now, I just would like to say that please mobilize them, please organize them, and please convince them to be part of the revolution rather than penalizing them. And I just want to say that please understand the public who live under the SAC. They are living in a particular way that they are safe under the SAC. So I, in the end, I would like to say that people will find a way with a safer way to reject this sham election for sure. Thank you. What I understand from you is that people are finding their own safe balance to live under the SAC, to understand them, and you also talked about some of the practice and ideas of the NUG to be considered again as well. Thank you. And Ninin, I just would like to ask you a particular question. There are international community, some of the international community that might recognize the SAC and by and large, the international community, of course, do not accept the SAC. But then again, what need to be careful about if they would get the recognition, not to get the not to get the acceptance by the international community because of this sham election. Thank you. What we can say is that the revolutionary momentum, it's another level as well. And there are expert opinion that the momentum of the revolution and the revolutionary forces are getting stronger. And majority of the country do not cooperate with the SAC, but some, yes, they walk with the SAC, they talk with SAC. Even China have a very careful approach or sensitive approach in dealing with the SAC, because Chinese consider all the backfire effect if they would deal with the SAC explicitly. What I would like to say is that whatever cooperation with the SAC, one thing to be careful is that their regional stability is at risk if the SAC is in power. So as you all know that there is no peaceful place in this country due to all this various reasons. So whenever country try to deal with SAC, please analyze why and for what interest that they would have in dealing with or in cooperating with the SAC. And we also have this ASEAN 5-point consensus. We do not accept that for our party, as we all know that all this ASEAN 5-point consensus would drive the situation that the SAC will be recognized. But even they have this favored ASEAN 5-point consensus for SAC, the SAC still do not implement them. So we cannot imagine what would be the reason for other countries to work together with the SAC. They will have, it will be a waste definitely to work together with the SAC. And another thing that I would like to say is that according to the practices, according to their value, according to their norms, there is no DNA for negotiation in the military junta. So this murderer SAC is to be dissociated by international community, by organizations, and by international community. Another thing that I would like to talk about is the role of a public. In every country, public is the most important is the most important aspect. And whichever government will be there, the public will remain the same. So if international community work together with the SAC, then this is the act that would go against explicitly with the wishes of the Myanmar people. So please be careful in dealing with the SAC. And what SAC is doing now, it's to run this sham election. This sham election, it's the tool that they use in order for them to hold the power forever. And even if the sham election would not be feasible for them at some point, and I'm sure that they will use all these dirty tricks for them to still hold the power. But anyway, whatever tactics that the military would use, the belief and the wish and the need of the people, it's very strong to go for the federal democratic country and to abolish the 2008 constitution. This is a very strong wish of people. That is something that I would like to say for the international community as well. For our revolutionary forces, we are very strong in terms of our direction, in terms of our value, in terms of our goal. So all the forces inside the country and outside the country needs to be well coordinated in all our struggle, in all our action. And we really need to look at the long term in terms of what we want in building the new country. We want to have a federal democracy union. We want to have a genuine one. And in order to have a genuine federal democratic country, we need to start working from now. It is the time, the time is now. And we really need to have the strong leadership as well in our future direction. To have a strong leadership, uh, it is now that we need the strong leadership. And according to the dynamic of the revolution, the new form of the leadership it will be evolved. And this is something that we need to work on in solidarity. Thank you. Thank you very much for your experience and analysis on this perspective. So I'm sure that it is very valuable sharing of yours for all of us. In this revolution, the I would say that the father of the evil, which is the military, it's to be rejected by everyone, and any kind of action that would somehow contribute the recognition of the SAC is to be avoided totally. And now we have the last question as the as this round, and we will have the final panelist, Cô Naung, and after that we will have the Q&A session for the audience as well, and then of course we'll have a wrap-up session towards the very end of our program. Now I would like to invite Cô Naung. I have a question for you. If this sham election will be actually implemented, then would the structure of the military institution might be altered, or would there be some sort of military reform happened? I kind of wonder, I mean, how would you read it? What would be your expectation? And
ရွေးကောက်ပွဲဆိုင်ရာဒီနောက်ဆုံး update အခြေအနေတွေကိုပေးဖို့အတွက်ဒီဘာမှ
after your point, I will invite Christy
presentation sheet မှာဖြစ်ပါတယ်
for the presentation. And after that, after this presentation, we will have the Q&A section for the public. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite Gunnar for your response. Well, the SC is preparing for the sham election. Hello, can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you. Please continue. Yes, Gunnar, we can hear you. Please continue. Well, what I was saying is that the SAC is preparing for the sham election, and saying that they will have this and that measures for the election. But anyway, whatever they will do, I mean, whatever they do, they are doing things for their own interest, for still for them still the power. So they may change their uniform. It's just that it. And but then again, the public doesn't accept this regime at all. And even if they still hold the power, there will be crisis with the public continuously. And this country will not have peaceful situation at all. But then again, in the end, the military it's sacrificing this country over their power. And the military has never looked at the benefit or interest of the people. And the military actually it's used by the Honda, and the soldiers definitely know it, and they are doing things for what they are told by the Honda. So if the Honda will still be there, the soldiers will be used, exploited, the military will be exploited. This is a very clear message that everyone need to understand. The soldiers need to understand as well. And the public sentiment against the soldiers will still be there. And if this kind of dynamic is still continued, the families of the soldiers, the generations of the soldiers, their future will always be exploited by the Honda, and public will hate them, and there will be no future for the soldiers and their generations as well, and they will not be respected by the public as well. They will be hated by the public for sure. So all the soldiers really need to understand this kind of dynamic. So I just would like to give this message to you, to all the soldiers, that please leave this kind of situation and join the CDM movement campaign. And it is you yourself to pull out of this institution and build your own future. It's never too late as long as you do the right thing at any moment. Otherwise, the future of the soldier and the future of the generations of a soldier will all be lost. And that is what it is happening now. So this is something that I would like to say. Thank you very much, Go Naung Yo, for your anticipation of what would happen for the soldiers if they still continue this kind of situation.
And conflict study
we also have invited Christine. Christine will also be from the Burma Affairs Studies as well. So Sima Christine, please share the results of your most recent research. Sima Christine, you have the floor. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me today so that the word I will use will be about the illegitimate sham election of the military junta. It's more than a sham election. It is an legitimate election the military is trying to organize. So our organization has been monitoring what they are doing in terms of the election, and that we are also we also like to thank the organizers for inviting me to share our findings as well. My name is Kristen, and that Burma conflict from Burma conflict studies, we can call us as PACS. I would also like to do screen share. Can you give me that power to screen share, please. Yes. I will not take a lot of time here with this intervention. So our Burma Affairs and Conflict Studies, we will be that we do we look at the situation and what we'll be sharing about this the illegitimate the Sham election of the military. So that what we'll be sharing will be based on the data for the past 2 years during the revolution. When we talk about the revolution, that we also need to look about what the enemy is doing and what the adversary also is doing. It's also important to look at it, and it is also important also to have a clear strategy as well. And that to be able to have a clear strategy, it is important to look at not only the enemy but also outside. It is important to also to keep an eye on our enemy as well, and that it is also important to give the information about it as well, and that so for our organization, since when the military started announcing about the organizing the Sham election, we started doing our study about it as well, and that so with our when we finish this that in the 2023 about the I think since we have started doing the election monitoring by the end of 2022, but although we just share it online or we just share with the public, we also share the findings with the public. We also share with the revolutionary organization as well. And today, what we'll be sharing is that in that what we'll be going to share, but it is not is it enough to that for people to oppose the election. What are the information that is upon which we serve as a basis for opposing the election? Is that military is doing something? But right now we know the military is cruel, is brutal. They escalate the violence. They kill civilians. They are killing their own people. But then that's that when it comes to when we talk about the work that we do about the process, it is important to be fact-faced. It is important for us to face on the fact whenever we communicate with it as well. And they're saying that they would ask you like, why are you opposing the SAC election? Then you need to know. We have to give the facts, and we have to show them that how illegitimate their efforts are, and that's the purpose in monitoring the military's preparation for the election. So what I would like to share here is that I'd like to talk about the movements first. That since the beginning of 20 since the end of the 2022 beginning of the military started to rally across the country in the press conference, in the meetings, in the public statements, that they have been trying to have the movement across Myanmar. They call it the multi-party election. They also call it the proportional representation or PR system. They said that they always their narrative is that this election will be transparent and honest and free and fair. For the past 6 months, we have also released in the 6 months of our monitoring. What we have seen is that that if we look at the parties movement, there are only 3 parties which are active as well. You can see here the first the graph shows that the movement of the parties in the January, and the second is that of the movement of the parties in February. If we look at the parties movement in January and February, this will be reflected in these graphs here. Since 2023, in terms of party, there are in the past election we have over 80 political parties. There is also a current issue going on that after that, based on when the military announced their roadmaps and that they give the statement, what I would like to inform you is it is important to know that sometimes what it is important that we have to be careful, because the way military speak, it could be very ambiguous, and it could also get you into a controversial debate based on their ambiguity as well. And that they now right now that military military has, at the end of February, there are only 13 political parties which are registered, compared to the over 80 which has been in the 2020 as well. So it doesn't matter. Military is saying they are going to exercise a pure political promotional representation and how fair they be. But based on the information they are sharing, based on the but the Regulations Act, and they are not trusted even by the political parties. After 2 years later, people have come to realize that they cannot be trusted. So there are only for 13 political parties which is registered as well. We have observed that we have been following the news, and that the Facebook, that website, that over the 60 websites, as well as on the over 500 pages of the political parties, and to look at as well. If you look at across Myanmar, only one party has been active, which is the USDP party. They have 214 activities in January, and they have over 105 activity as well. There are two other parties, PPP and that NUP, in January. In BBP 9 and that 19, and go to 14 in February. So if we look at the USDP party, we have it in the report as well. So I don't have 10 minutes, so I will not be going to the details, but you can check out the details in our report. So USDP, what does it do? What are the movements of this party? So in terms of national activity, as you can see on the bottom, that's just for the January as well. They have over 100 activities. In February, there have been fightings in the upper part of Myanmar, as well as on different parts of Myanmar, and because of these because of the fighting, escalation of the fighting, the party activity also have gone down as well. So that they were just merely doing something like public campaigning as well. And then they organize that party coordination meetings whenever that after the party has some internal changes, they are also doing the internal campaigning or mobilization as well. And that USDP party is a political party that cannot even protect its own members, and when it comes to that, they always have this narrative that they will provide protection to the people, that country, but in reality, they cannot even protect their own party members. So it is merely, what's and the hot air from them. And that when there are fighting across Myanmar, they only do activities in the area they can control. That Myanmar, the head of the military hunter, if we look at his speeches in the past, Myanmar would usually say that they usually say what is the percentage, or what is the percentage under the Seng government, what was how much under the NLD, which percentage under the NLD, under the government. Right now, they said they're going to do a democratic promotional representation. I always use his words to talk about it. So that although he claims that it's going to be a national election held in different parts of Myanmar, but at the end, but in March, they also organized that they will organize election in different in all townships of the Rakhine State as well, and that but under the NLD, that because of the fighting, the military has fighting with different parts of Rakhine State. That's why in some of the townships they were not able to organize election. Now they said they're going to hold election in every part of Rakhine State. Although they made this is what they will boast of, but they know they cannot in January alone. That and you can see that on the left is for the January, on the right is for the February. So they were able to have a mobilization of political parties 93 times in Shan State. That's the highest, and then 92 and then we also have a higher time in also did as well. But then in February they can only do like 37 times. In Yangon there were only 39 movement as well. That 39 was decreased from 4 to 5 in January as well. Strangely enough, NUP is a walk-in on we consider this as part of the party movement, because they are doing party internal campaigning or internal mobilization. So that's the only activity that this party can do in the month of January and February. So when we look at the activities, we look at the activities of the party, as well as we look also at what the SAC can do. So these are the 8 townships where the party is having active in January. If you look at what I would like to look at is ARE region. In the ARE region, they are working in. We'll also go into details about it, which township, which the area they only. What is also interesting is that in February we are also seeing they are also seeing some movement in Kachin and Karen State as well, but it's only in one major urban areas as well, and that there, if you look at the Yari region, they were in different places as well. So this is also to show that what kind of electoral movement that the military has been able to do in January and February. If you look at both months, so there were 121 times that they organized about the collecting voter lists. That was in January, and what we have also seen interesting is that in last month in February, they said they're going to be organizing training. So they are doing some initial data collection, as well as on the they also military also have quite made quite a statement, say there's going to be electronic voting, that even when they are collecting in person, going into the field with the people to collect data, they are having a lot of issues with the data. How can they digitize the data and make it a digital voting? That's incredible. That is practically impossible because they don't have the ground data at all. Every month if we look at, we are also trying to look at the percentage or how much of the percentage of India, because every month the military is announcing on the news, military is on the news, which how many millions of data has been collected by the voter census. In reality, that it is not corresponding. It is not. If they don't have that, the data are not statistically strong. They cannot be counter-checking each other in between. Even the news that they publicly release, the number of data so changing from one township to another, and that's something we have to be aware of. That whenever we communicate, revolutionary forces communicate with the people, it is important to mention that as well. You know that it is not only a legitimate Sham election. All what they are doing, all their activities is not logical. It doesn't make sense in terms of numbers that they are claiming to have been doing as well. This is the illegitimate election electoral movement in January in different by states and regions. So we are trying to look at the different states and regions to see, is there really an electoral movement for the military under to organize it? They are not. Even included the meetings that the parties are holding as well. Actually, they do not have any. They do not do much of the awareness raising or public information. We are also including party coordination meetings as well. So that it is important for us to see why are we opposing this election and why should we oppose this election, because we also need to understand also how this election is not to be trusted or to be discredited as well. So we are seeing a lot of things happening. So the military may have a voter list, and if they have the voters, they will say everybody supported their voters support that, and that's what they do. We have seen that happen, and that it is important to point this out to the people. So when what I might comparing January and February, every time doing a comparison is to show that although that it should be, the movement should be increasing, instead they are decreasing as well. That we have seen in February, in the month of February, there has been this legitimation election movement going on different states and regions. They are also doing a very strategic movement as well. That we are also seeing the counteraction of the revolutionary forces. We have political parties which have been saying they do not recognize this election, and different strike committees across Myanmar has also been organizing public demonstrations to say, and the people who are demonstrating in different parts of Myanmar, they are not demonstrating because they are being organized by some sort of chain of command. They know the Myanmar doesn't have the capacity or the ability to govern a country, and that's why people are saying that as well. And that we're not saying this not based on fact or evidence. It is also, this evidence is also reinforced by the information about and the data that we have found it as well. So how many times do they have done the voter census in January? They said that they are claiming they're going to organize an election in every part of the country, but in reality, there were only the highest number of times they have done the voter list is 22 times in Yangon as well, and that so that we also have heard about that. These voter lists also means that using the public taxes, public funds as well, and then we also heard recently recently in the news also that the military is increasing the military expenses while cutting the expenses of the government as well, and that's something we also need to rely on as well. What we have also seen as a major difference is that Kachin, Crannies, Hmwe, and Sakai, they said they claim that they are moving, also making electoral movements, and the voter list collection is all. What they intend to do is organize the election in August of 2023, but now they are pushing. They have extended 6 months, and that means that they're going to use the pretext of organizing the election to spend and even more of the public budget as well. And that although they have officially announced that they will organize the election in every constituency of Myanmar, right now what they are doing is that they cannot control the counter demonstrations, and that as well that they are now using the weapons. They're using the weapons, and since they cannot control the territory, they have announced them as they announced them as an expansion of the martial law. And we have seen a recent killing, where they had massacred the people of the local community in Danang village, and this massacre show not only the brutality but also the escalation of violence of the military. And this is not new. This has happened in the past. This has happened to the minority. So we are literally in the darkest times of the day. But for us, there is no worse thing that could happen to us, because we are already in the darkest time of it as well. So this image, this diagram show the 8 townships which are under martial law. That we also have had stories about where the people have been, civilians have been arrested and then taken away to be used as human shields while they're conducting military offensive against the PDF as well. And that all these incidents are happening. They also have killed monks or other religious leaders. This shows the military is a terrorist, plain and simple. They do not. They are racist, they are discriminatory, and they kill the religious leaders without any hesitation as well. So these are also the in this graph we are showing you the list of the statements the military has made about the election. If we look at all the statements in back in 2022 January and February, they said that there will be a proportional representation system, and the system will be implemented as well. But what we understand is that they also have announced a party registration answer that how many members at least a political party should have, as if you're a small party or if you're a national party. And then they even made the budget restrictions to say the party should have raised at least this much in terms of party funds, and that in the party registration asset that they must have no connection with the NUG or CRPH. And the way the military is doing, that anyone who oppose them will not be part of the election, and that although they say that they will accept and recognize the ethnic revolution organization, they are using the law, they are exploiting the law to exclude and marginalize people further from the political process. We're not just saying this because this military is already known for cruelty, for the brutality, and that it is important to explain why we should oppose this election. Why is the military not fit to govern a country? It is important to make the point, not just say about it. It is important to give them facts and why we shouldn't trust the military. It is also important for us to understand that why people are saying no to the military, and that it is important also to recognize the military is killer. They are killing civilians. They are killing privately. They are killing people, and that's the message we want to give to you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share here, and that thank you very much indeed.
Okay, Sima Christian, အခုလိုမျိုးဒါကျမတို့ပြည်သူတွေလည်းဒီလိုပေါ့နော်
Thank you, Christine, for taking the time to share with us, and that so without the facts or the evidence backing up the arguments that they made, of course there could be things that could miss the details, and as we say, the devil is the details. It is important to look at the facts and to understand also what is going on and what is the narrative of the military, what are they doing operationally. So thank you for sharing that information, because we think it is useful useful for the revolutionary forces, for the organization to be mindful of the information that you have shared, and also that also will help them see better on the way move forward. And that if you want more detail about what the group has just shared, so feel free to request the data, the report from People's Code team, Messenger, and we can share the report with you. So that I think we have finished the third round as well as, and then and also the presentation as well. So I would like to give time to people who have raised their hand. There was somebody though who has raised his hand, I think Joseph Pai, but I don't see him anymore. So do we have anyone who raised the hand? I think he has leaved it as well. I think I see a comment here though. There is a comment. I will read the comment, and then and I will also want to I will also ask our three panelists a closing remark as well. The remarks that the Myanmar Tamado, you should not be organized that you should not, organize the election. You should remain in power for all time, because the people who are speaking, the villagers will listen to nothing but that nothing but slaves of it as well. So this is very much a pro-military comment. This is very much as somebody who is, spreading propaganda for the military. So I would like to start with Go Now. What do you think about this comment?
Hello.
Okay, ရှင့်ကြားပါတယ်ကိုနောင်လေးပြောပါ
Okay, Knark.
We can hear you, Go Now. You please go ahead. Can you repeat the comment? Yes, there is a comment that we have received. It's not a question. The comment said that that Myanmar, the dear Myanmar Tamaro, there is no need to organize the election. Please continue to govern the country. So the people who are speaking are, the people who are speaking are like really good for nothing, just the spaceless people. So this is an account, that has claimed to be patriotic. The name is a profile name, Mr. Patriotic. Is it the same kind of propaganda you see in the military? Well, no, the military, inside the military, inside the army, when they do the propaganda, when they do the control, they often use a religious, religious focus as well. They also use they use race and the protection of race and religion as a main way to spreading propaganda as well. They usually, to spread propaganda by saying that. For example, like they have in the past, they say the military has always they always say that they say that we cannot accept it, and that they will often say that because of the NLD has cheated at the election, that we have to control the country to be with it as well. And they will often say that they will say that what they are saying is illogical. It doesn't make sense. But the way they push it to make sure that they are the savior for the country, they are savior of the race as well, and they are trying to protect that as well, and that sometimes they would even say that. So they always say, repeat this, there's this kind of protection of a race. And so they always give the same message. So it is effective to an extent, because they really see that there are also, the people who are resisting the military, but there are also people who believe in this narrative of the military, where they claim that military is the savior, that the country is now at the risk of danger and all that, and we need to protect the, religion, and that there are people who are taking the US dollars to be able to control the country and all that. And they say that there are a lot of the narrative that military create. The military needs to save the race and save their ethnicities, and so less on the religion. They always say that they use the time, they use the money, they use the human resources to spread this message inside the military, outside on the online as well. But their purpose is to they will use the military in a way to control it as well, and that if they have these idea that people like, and then they will already get narrated. They say, oh, we need to protect the race, we need to protect our ethnicity, so people like it. It's easy to mobilize the people into, it is important to, in a way, radicalize the people when you use that as well. So they will say these are the current narrative they use. We need to protect, we are the saviors, we are the heroes, because in a way these narratives are constructs made in such a way to say they are they are the ones who are entitled to have the power, that and that they, in a way, that they control the power. It is important for them to control the country, and that's what they do, and that's a message. So they use this kind of the chauvinistic, that patriotism, as well as on the they will use this about the protecting of the religion as a way to do that as well. And this is something they have done in the past, and they will continue to do that before. This is their constructs and narrative. I think it is important. It's something we cannot avoid. It is important to help people have a more awareness, and to develop a broader perspective beyond what they are saying, what is really happening on the ground. It is important to go beyond that propaganda, the waves of propaganda, to see what is really happening. That it is important for people to use their own common sense, and to be able to understand what is happening as well.
Now we have our time beyond than the schedule. Now I would like to have the wrapping up question to all of the speakers. And I would like to request you to give your response short to the point. I have this question. These days, the SEC is talking about to have census first before the election. Then what would be the impact on the revolutionary forces if there would be no sham election in foreseeable future? Now I would like to ask Don Hmwe for your response. Thank you. As I mentioned, I do you hear me? Do you hear me? Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. What I was saying is that, as I mentioned, the interest of the military is to hold their power with whatever mean and whatever way. So this sham election is one of their tactics, among other, to hold their power. So if they, after testing the water, they might find out that people would definitely significantly go against this sham election, and they may come up with other way around as well. Of course, at this moment, they are using all sort of their propaganda campaign in order to oppress the public. But the public, on the other hand, are very much determined already for their for the better Myanmar. Whatever direction that the SEC is undertaken, we in solidarity have to be together in revolting the SAC. So this is very much the message for everyone to be in this way. Now I would like to ask Go Min to give your response. As Don Ninin mentioned, they use this sham election as one of their tactics in order to be legitimate regime, in order to get recognized by other, and to hold their power. And this is one of um, their 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 foreseeable tactics that they might undertake. We definitely have to go against it, as we all know that our dream and our goal for everyone is to have federal democratic country with no role of military in politics. and people have strong belief in it, and people are having this journey as well. So with unity, I would say that people have to pursue the country that we all want. So each and every goal is to be respected while having our common goal pursued very well. So basically, whether they will be sham election or not sham election, our journey is to be continue until we reach to our goal ultimately. Thank you very much. Now I would like to give the floor to Go Now you for your response. Well, in order to come up with the conclusion, we all learn about the military junta throughout the whole history. The sham election is not about the restoration of the democracy and not to give the people power back into for the people. And the future might be difficult and the future might be hard, but the revolutionary forces should know our direction and our goal explicitly, and we really need to be united, and we really need to walk together in solidarity with all the utmost energy that we have to build to pursue our goal as well. So, for the public and for the political party, what I would like to say is that the sham election by the SEC will no way to restore the democracy. The democracy implemented by the military, it's not genuine democracy at all. So in the in the in the history, the Udan Shui's era, democracy was not the genuine democracy we knew it, and then the democratic transformation was a quasi one as well, not a genuine one that we had back in U Thein Sein government. Now, what I would like to say is that we definitely need to find the solution how to reach to our goal. So people should not sweat, or people should not be um, be off road due to the sham election. So we really need to get rid of the military dictatorship for our future as well. So this is what I would like to say and remind to everyone. Thank you. Um, dear audience, with the topic, what and where the sham elections of SAC, this conversation reached its end, and we have learned from all the speakers that the SEC is trying to get recognition by um, the people of Myanmar and by international community. And in order to have such kind of recognition, they came up with this tactics, which is the sham election. But on the other hand, the terrorist military is killing people with all the people blood in their hand. So everyone need to be mindful and be aware that this sham election, it's just the sham. So we really need to know that. And as we all learn that from this presentation that we've got, that the SAC is preparing its way for the election. So we have to be aware of their steps and tactics and strategy. And we learn about that as well. And for the political party, in order to be the um, creditable and respectful political party, the political parties would need to listen and reflect the wishes and need of the people as well. And we also learned from this today program that the soldiers who are yet to be CDMR are to be mindful about what would be the negative impact that they are suffering now and the negative impact of the future due to the coup d'etat. So they really need to understand that. And while having all the blood and life sacrifice for our future, we have to mitigate the future bloodshed. In order to do so, we have to reflect where we are and what we are doing and what would be our future, and to be united and to walk together in solidarity. So this is very important. And only then the federal democratic country can be shaped and crafted. So these are all what we've learned from each and every speakers. I would like to thank to all the speaker for your participation. Next week, we will have the same program with another topic, and we would like to invite you again, and we would like to see you again next week. But for today, this is the end of this program, and bye for now, and good night.